Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back to our channel and today's video on why I am running away. So I've been having a lot of alarm bells going off in my body that have been making it hard for me to keep doing what I plan to do. And I think this is really important to talk about because I think a lot of the accepted wisdom around this is to trust your gut. And the thing is, sometimes your gut, these emotional alarm bells, are just discomfort. And part of what we're driven to do is stay away from discomfort, move towards comfort, and also stay away from doing things differently to conserve energy. And doing something differently always takes more energy. So sometimes these alarm bells are true. Sometimes the alarm bells are reflecting a situation, a threat that you genuinely want to remove yourself from because it could risk harm to you. The discomfort that comes from just doing something new, just stepping out of what is your norm, and the discomfort that comes from good stress, a good type of pressure, a good type of pain that actually in total will amount to you evolving, changing, transforming in a way that you want. So I want to use the example today about how I have been making my vulnerability, my feeling of being vulnerable and overexposed, a problem. How I am hearing this alarm bell and then I'm wanting to run, take that flight response and solve the problem of feeling uncomfortable by just removing myself from the situation that's triggering the thoughts that are creating that emotion. When instead, I'm actually being very purposeful in advance to put myself in situations that create vulnerability, where I am showing up vulnerably. This is actually what I want, to feel this kind of discomfort. In fact, this discomfort is a sign at the same time that I'm on the right track. There's one part of me that wants it and wants to be in this place, and there's another part of me that wants to run, that hears this as a threat or a bad thing. Let's talk about this conflict so that you can stop getting in your own way in your own life too. Because we all intellectually know no pain, no gain, but how many of us are actually executing on that, being in the discomfort, the good discomfort in our lives? Let's get real here. So when I feel discomfort in my body, when I have some kind of unpleasant emotional state in my body, the correct response from my brain is to sound the alarm bells. These alarm bells are meant to make me more vigilant to what's happening in my world, both externally and internally. It's saying, pay attention. Something may be wrong. There may be a threat here. So that's a type of behavioral response I can have to this unpleasant category of an emotion. There will also be some biochemical and physical changes in our body as a result of this emotional state. For example, turning on to a certain extent our stress response, changing hormones, muscle tones, the ways that our eyes focus, breathing, etc. So when we have this unpleasant emotional state in our body and brain wants us to be more attentive to the environment around us, specifically for threats, and also to prepare our body to be able to take care of itself, to be prepared for the potential threat. But where your higher brain here can tune in, where you can interrupt this process that is an old, habitual, built-in evolutionary response, as opposed to a response that's necessarily optimized for our current reasonably safe, usually safe world, but instead where you can make a difference, where you can interrupt and become more aware and deliberate in this process, is in that first step where your brain becomes more attentive. I want your brain to be able to start to recognize that this unpleasant emotion isn't a reality checker. It isn't reading that there's something threatening in the environment necessarily, but instead start to see this as a cue that your body and mind want you to pay attention, that in your mind, you're perceiving something as a potential threat. So there's a very key difference there. This unpleasant emotional state is reflecting that you're perceiving a threat in your mind. It's not detecting or revealing or reflecting that there is actually a threat in the environment. Our emotions don't just directly detect the environment. Our emotions come from the thoughts in our brain. The environment comes through the filter of our mind first. So to break this down, this might sound like in your mind, when you first look at your mind, or observe your body state. When you catch yourself feeling this unpleasant emotion, like for me, vulnerable is feeling unpleasant at the moment. In your thoughts, you might sum this up by saying, I just feel like something is wrong. So from that starting statement, I want you to get curious about what in here are thoughts and what in here are feelings. So I feel like something wrong. can come down to a feeling of, in my body, I feel unpleasant. And then you can name that emotion in whatever way it is. So for me, say, in my body, I'm feeling vulnerable. Vulnerability feels like this to me. Now, the something is wrong in that first sentence, I feel like something is wrong, is gonna come from a thought. So you can connect these here and say, I'm having the thought that something is wrong, and that's causing this unpleasant feeling. I'm having the thought that I'm exposed. That's creating a feeling of vulnerability. So this is really simple, but really powerful. We've gone from this elusive, I feel like something is wrong, which is quite hard to deal with, to I'm having the thought that something is wrong, which is causing this unpleasant feeling. The reason I'm feeling unpleasant is because I'm having this thought, not necessarily because something is wrong. This feeling is only here because of this thought. Now, you don't have to just stop there. You don't have to just accept everything that is and make peace with it. You can take that analytical step if that's what you like, and I know a lot of you guys like to do, and what a lot of us need to do to figure out what our next step is to look at that thought. Why do I think something's gone wrong? Why do I feel exposed? Where did this come from? What am I worried about? Asking all these good questions to figure out what this thought is wanting to bring your attention to. So this is a very different approach to what we would habitually do if we just listen to that alarm bell and believe that that alarm bell is showing us that there is something dangerous in the environment. When we just believe that the alarm bell is telling us that there's something dangerous, we will turn on our fight or flight response and react very quickly. We will do what we need to do in our modern world to make that emotion go away, to solve for the emotion. But when you take this time to connect the emotion to the thought, now you know you don't need to solve the emotion. The thing to solve is the thought, what's going on in my mind. To start to look at the thought and see where you can go, what options you have with this thought, you need to first observe it and acknowledge it as actually just a thought, not again, a fact or a reflection of reality. Once you've recognized it as a thought, now you can start to think about that thought and think about how you're thinking so that you can solve the problem, make a solution from potentially a different place if this thought has you stuck. Another challenge with doing this work is that when you have an unpleasant feeling, it's quite difficult to not actually react in the moment. This is what not only you have practiced doing for all of your life. Feel bad, solve the feeling. Feel bad, fix the feeling, not the thought. It can be very hard to interrupt this cycle of thought, feeling, behavior, reaction to the feeling. For me, escaping, hiding from whatever I'm doing that's triggering those thoughts that make me feel exposed and the emotion that makes me feel vulnerable. So the micro skills that you have to learn here is learning to be with that feeling, that unpleasant feeling, for me, vulnerability, when I feel it in the moment. Be with it, allow it, recognizing that it cannot harm me, it is just a feeling. And something that actually really helped me doing this and helped me actually stay focused and dedicated to the process was disarming my whole body, lying myself down, dedicating myself to 90 seconds to just feel the feeling, feel what was happening in my body. Because when you recognize that that feeling is causing no harm or problem, especially when you've disarmed any behavior response to it, there's no urgency to fix the problem. There's no rush. There's no urgency to make the emotion problem go away. And ironically, when you observe the emotion, it usually will pass. So now that I'm not trying to escape the emotion, now that I don't have that gut initial reaction to fix the emotion, I can then sit with it long enough to find those thoughts. So this is exactly the process that I'm going through right now, and different emotions I find challenging on different levels. Vulnerability, I think I've let myself unconsciously be escaping over the last week or so. I'm feeling this sense of vulnerability because of the thoughts that are coming up in my mind, and then I'm removing myself from the situation that's triggering those thoughts, right? So I'm just escaping things that trigger those thoughts and then kick off that thought, emotion, behavior cycle for me. Here's the thing though, that's not my desired reaction to vulnerability right now. I want to take control and interrupt this cycle so that I can feel vulnerable, because ironically, vulnerability is actually the thing that I want to feel. Vulnerability is where I want to be. So now I need to train my body, my mind to get comfortable with this kind of discomfort. Not only get comfortable with it, but celebrate it. See it as a good thing. Associate it with a good thing in my value set. But my current programming is fighting against what I'm trying to reprogram in my future self. My current programming says it's a problem, escape this situation. What I'm trying to do is put myself in this situation and stay there. Be there, embrace it. So there are two parts here that I need to keep repeating on a daily basis. And I want you to be able to see and be able to repeat these for yourself too until you reprogram yourself. We've got the deprogramming of the old system that we're using, the old programs that run that have us habitually reacting to the emotion of vulnerability and therefore escaping it, not being with it. And then we have this new programming that I want, where I want to be able to experience the emotion of vulnerability and stay with that, get the wisdom and behavioral changes, outputs that come from that emotional state. So when it comes to deprogramming, you are noticing the emotions as they come up in your body. And then you're delineating the thoughts that are creating the emotion from each other. You're also getting comfortable with the emotion and not seeing it as a signal that something's going wrong and something needs to be done, but instead learning to allow the emotion and be with it so that you can make a measured decision about what you'll do next. In terms of reprogramming, when I'm more comfortable with allowing vulnerability, I want to see what behaviors I can take from that place. And then I'm going to be continuously analyzing what works and what doesn't, what comes from a good, desired, useful place and what is not serving me at this point. I don't know about you guys, but I do not want to stay comfortable my whole life. It is so boring, incomfortable, and comfortable more than often just keeps us the same. So I hope you're having a wonderful day, being a little bit comfortable, a little bit uncomfortable, and I'll see you guys in